Louise just called me. She just got back from the acupuncturist. I got to tell you, this is amazing. We kind of started out the program with this whole thing about would you take a drug, an experimental drug, if there was a small chance that it might, the chance that it would save your life. I mean, typically that's not even there. Complete remissions are pretty rare, although there are some. But typically, I mean, I look at these studies, and I have family members who've been enrolled in them and friends as well, and they're considering success having a 20-month mean survival time turn into a 27-month mean survival time, or actually even a 25-month survival time, or week. So, would you take a drug knowing that there's a possibility it would kill you, it would shorten your life, it would horribly ruin the quality of your life, but there's a small chance you'd live longer, or not? And should the drug companies be deregulated somewhat, as the Goldwater Institute is suggesting, in order to be able to do more of this? And I mentioned that when Louise got breast cancer, she took a drug that is like $100,000 a year for this particular type of breast cancer. There's very few types of breast cancer that actually have a drug for them, and there's this particular drug is available for this particular type of breast cancer. And she's clear as far as we can tell as a consequence of this. 7 years ago or 10 years ago, something like that, many years ago, another member of our team, an actual, one of the people who works on this show, his wife got breast cancer, and it was the exact same kind of breast cancer Louise has, and was enrolled in a trial for this drug that Louise took. But it was one of these placebo-controlled trials where half the women get the drug and half the women get just a shot. They don't know whether the drug's in it or not. And she got just the placebo, and she died. One of the people who works on this show. And it just turned his life upside down. They had a couple of young kids and the whole thing. So, I get the value of the studies, and I get the value of saying, hey, I'll take the drug. But, on the other hand, as I mentioned, another member of our family didn't do so well with one of these trials and was just, basically killed by the drug, although he was dying already. So anyhow, I bring that up, not just to kind of bring up the topic again, but because, as I said, Louise called me during the break. There's news at the top of the hour, and she called to say hi. She had just walked 3 miles home from the acupuncturist. One of the side effects of the chemo that Louise took was that one of her legs has neuropathy. It damaged the nerves. I mean, chemo does all kinds of incredible damage to you that they don't tell you about, and you don't read about and you don't learn about until you're actually on it. It just really whacks the body hard, and the brain. And Louise has come through it quite well, except that she has a large chunk of her I think it's her left leg, her lower left leg, that she can't feel a thing, which can be really dangerous. And it's also been slowly withering away. It's been kind of dying, because the nerves aren't there, and so it's not getting fed. It's called chemo-induced neuropathy. And so finally, I don't know if frustration is the right word, because we've always thought acupuncture was a good thing. We tried it when Louise wanted to get pregnant with our second child. We tried and tried for years and years, and it didn't work. And we went to an acupuncturist, and bang, she got pregnant. So she said, let's try this. And there was a new acupuncturist. I don't know if she's new. There's an acupuncturist here in Washington, D.C., and Louise went to see her, and she said while the needles were in her, she could just feel this river of ice, is what it felt like, flowing through her leg. It was the first sensation she'd felt in a year. And she walked all the way home and felt her leg all the way home. And she's like, this is incredible. I said, can I tell people about this on the air? And she's like, yeah, sure. I've told you before, back in 1986, in November of 1986, I spent a month in Beijing, China, living at the Beijing International Acupuncture Teaching Hospital. There's an actual, much more formal name for it, which I can't remember And it's interesting because the last time I mentioned it on the air, I got an email from somebody saying, "Hey, I was there the month before you were," and who named the hotel and one of my roommates who is now a doctor in New York City, a psychiatrist. In fact, he knew him. I mentioned him on the air, and the other two roommates, the two Japanese guys, he knew them. I didn't get to know them all that well, but I have kept in touch with my other roommate, who is, like I said, this psychiatrist in New York, and he stayed there actually, I think, for 2 years. For quite, I mean, he became very good at it. What I did with regard to acupuncture in that month that I was there in China was the equivalent of going on a resort dive, where you hop in the pool 3 or 4 times with a tank on, and they teach you how to use the tank and how to clear your mask and get it to the point where you're not panicking in the water, and then they take you out. And Louise and I have done this in Mexico and in the Philippines and in Hawaii and various places around the world. And then you never go below 25 feet. And Australia, we snorkeled off the Great Barrier Reef. But it's sort of the learning acupuncture equivalent of resort dives, or the bunny slopes, for the beginners who are just learning how to ski. I didn't want to learn to be an acupuncturist, although I still have the needles, and I still do it to myself occasionally. But I wanted to learn if there was anything to it. I was really curious about it. I had been into herbal medicine in a big way back in the 70s, and this was, we had sold our business in 1986, the travel agency in Atlanta. We moved to Germany for a year and did a lot of traveling around Europe. And this opportunity opened up. It was $235 for the month, or maybe it was per week. And that included a one-on-one doctor, a one-on-one translator, room and board. You could buy a meal for 5 cents. The tallest building in Beijing at the time was either the Hilton or the Hyatt, or it was one or the other. It was one of those hotels that starts with H. It was 10 or 12 stories, and they had a steakhouse at the top, and they made pizzas. It was basically the only Western restaurant. It was a very poor country at that time. This was the year or two before Tiananmen Square, and I remember standing before the revolt, and I remember standing on Tiananmen Square on this giant highway there and watching this river of cars. But anyhow, the way that it worked at the hospital is every morning we would learn a meridian. Every day was a different meridian, and we'd learn the Chinese name of it, and we'd learn what it does, and then we'd spend the last couple hours of the morning sticking needles in oranges, learning how to needle, proper technique. And then in the afternoon, we'd go out on the wards, and this is a 500-person hospital, and they had these rooms divided into, okay, all these people have Bell's palsy, all these people have this or that, whatever it may be. They had people divided by disease, basically. And so we would be needling, everybody pretty much similarly, and the doctor would work with us one-on-one, and we'd practice sticking needles in people. And I've seen it work. Why don't we do more of this kind of stuff in this country? Herbal treatments, I realize it's very in vogue to ridicule herbs. I've been using herbs ever since I was in my 20s, and I still do. I've got 5 bottles sitting right behind me. And I think they make me healthy. I know that acupuncture works. My personal experience, I broke my back skydiving when I was 20 years old, and I've used chiropractic ever since, and I get incredible relief from that. I know chiropractic works, at least for people who've had spinal injuries. Why don't we insure this stuff? Why don't we do this stuff? Why this skepticism? I brought up helminthic therapy earlier. The problem is nobody can make a buck at this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's not even so much nobody can make a buck at it. It's that nobody can get rich at it. And that's why it happens all over the world. I mean, our German doctor was an herbalist, but not here.